an experiment, which I did in college, and we're going to try a few things. I'm going to try putting a lot of the music in as we go along and the promos and all that as we go along this time. So we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't go right, well, I blame Kevin.
Actually, watch that YouTube video. You'll see.
Yeah. Actually, I'm blame Jarrett since he's not here to defend himself.
There you go.
There you go. So I'm going to remove you guys, and I'll bring you guys back in one at a time.
G.I. Joe, the Real American Headcast, is the code name for Aaron's daring, highly trained headcast. Its purpose? To podcast about G.I. Joe, fighting Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
Hey, Joe's General Head, a.k.a. Aaron Moss. At this point in my life, I don't know which is my real name. So anyways, welcome to G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, episode number 44. I'm going to bring in the guest, and I'm doing this a little bit differently. Again, as I talked about pre-show, Kevin last time gave me some thoughts and gave me some assistance. And then before the show today, he gave me a little more assistance. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently since we're on YouTube and we're actually streaming it live. So bear with me if things go wrong. I'm going to blame Jared since he's not here to defend himself, because that's what I do. So the first guest I'm going to bring out is our friend from up north. Well, most people's up north for me since I'm in California, either north or east. But this will be the writer formerly known as Jared 2.0, a.k.a.
Mommy and Daddy are making a better version of you.
How did that end up my theme music?
It's from a group called, oh crap, I can't remember the name of their group now, but it's a couple guys, and I found them through some other song. And back when I started introducing you as Jared 2.0, I just figured that song popped in my head, and so I've been using that as your theme song.
And then it just became Snakes on a Plane from there.
Yes. So yes, it makes sense in my head, and again, because you're the better version of Jared, so
I like to think so too.
Mommy and Dad are making a better version of Jared. Oh, welcome aboard, Brad. How you doing?
Thank you. Today? I'm good.
And also joining us is our friend, Mr. Kevin Reitzel. Again, bear with me as I play around and I do these things. Kevin Reitzel, aka Raider Nerd. No, Kevin.
We're still talking about episode 43, right?
No, this isn't 43 part 2. This is episode 44. I know you don't have.
Oh, yeah, I didn't read that one.
Well, since Jared's not here, I guess you cannot read it. But
By the way, the theme song you have for Brad, I thought that was like a Weird Al Yankovic song.
No, it's Paul and Storm. That's their name. Paul and Storm.
Okay.
And yeah, I first heard of them on Dr. Demento. Oh my Lord, years ago, they had a song called Epitaphs, based on the old Schoolhouse Rock songs,
Gotcha. Okay.
and talking about cursing and stuff. And it was a hilarious song. And so I was looking to them trying to find that song, and I found their other albums, and they're a great comedic duo. I definitely recommend Paul and Storm if you haven't heard them. They've got some great songs out there. Mommy and Daddy's Making a Better Version of You is just one of them.
So I should read this right now then, right?
Yeah, I'm going to introduce our next guest. So you have a few minutes before we get there. So
All right, cool. 44. Here I go.
Yeah. Also joining us, I don't have a theme song for him yet because, again, it's our first time here. But I brought in Mr. Eric. Hey, Eric.
How you doing?
Doing good. Eric is the game master from our D&D, our G.I. Joe role-playing game we play every other Tuesday, which I broadcast here on the G.I. Joe feed every other Thursday. I just released session 4, but we're getting ready to start session 7 or 8 at this next week. So I'm a couple of sessions behind just in case something happens. I've got a little coverage there. But Eric, I'm glad you could join us. How things going for you?
Oh, it's going well. Thanks for having me. This is a new experience for me.
Well, welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Yeah. So this is Kevin and Brad, the usual nut jobs in the show.
It's accurate.
It's true. It is true.
So today we are here to talk about some cartoons, some comic books, that kind of stuff. It looks like both Brad and Kevin are still trying to get them read. So I guess we'll give them a few minutes to read them.
It's like college all over again, cramming.
I'm just making sure he's treating that comic with respect. That's what I'm doing.
Well,
He's not.
This is actually a fairly pristine copy of 44 because I honestly have not read this one much. I think I may.
You want to smell it. You want to smell it.
I do, but we'll save it for the actual discussion of the issue as to why I've only read this one once
Yes,
or
well,
twice.
Again, as we know, it's Brad Abraham, aka Zartan and Twin Haters. I think after today, I may have to add on another from his email to me. We may have to add on another thing on there. But again, as we're going to talk about, there's a lot of choices this issue because this is an issue where they had a lot of toys to present to the audience. So let's go and get talking about that. So let me see. I've introduced everybody. So let's go on to G.I. Joe issue number 44. This was entitled Improvisation on a Theme. Easy for me to say. The cover of this one, we'll start with the cover as we normally do. The cover has Lady J on a silver Mirage, leaning back. Looks like she's got some pouty lips, shooting at a semi-truck barreling down on her with a bat behind the wheel, which we're introduced to this episode, or this issue. Again, it's got a lot of first appearances this issue. It's got a yellow background. It's got some smoke, I'm assuming, from the diesel truck trying to barrel down on it. There's some gunshot fires into the windshield of the truck. So let's go and get some thoughts on these. First time listening, we give this a 1 to 5 Yojo Cola. 1 being, oh my God, this sucked, up through 5 that you would like to have this enlarged, put it as a poster and hang it in your room, or manland in my case. So we're going to start with Brad. Brad, what are your thoughts on this issue or this cover?
Well, this is probably one of my all-time favorite covers, and my all-time favorite G.I. Joe cover. It's got the Grim Reaper. He's clutching an M60. He's blasting away, and why are you all staring at me?
I've already lost control of the show.
Oh, no. Okay, I know. I'm just a bad joke, but 43, I missed the episode, and I just wanted to say my bit that I agree with Kevin that is the all-time greatest G.I. Joe cover, and certainly probably my all-time favorite comic book cover.
Man Crush starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Well, this is. I feel like there should be someone making mention of Misters Beatty and Zek, but unfortunately,
Zek, Betty, Betty, Zek, Zek, Betty, Betty, Zek, Betty, Zek, Betty, Betty, Zek, Betty, Betty.
You see, you should be Jared 2.0.
When Jared's not here, I do have
Zek, Mike Zek with Betty, Zek, Betty, Zek, Zek.
So it's just like Jared is here.
That good. I can't do it that good.
even though Jared is busy with his own stuff, he's here in spirit and recording.
Yeah. And like Highlander, there can be only one. So if at some point Kevin and Jared decide to duel with broadswords, we will all be watching and waiting.
Of course, I'm going to stream it on this channel and see if I can put it up like on a, sell tickets to it and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
pay-per-view. The cover. Yeah, let's talk about the cover. Oh, why not? That's why
you
people want to hear, right?
44.
Yeah. This is not my favorite cover. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It is certainly a very dynamic cover. It promises what you get in the issue, which is action, and it also puts Lady J in the forefront, which is again sort of appropriate for the issue. If anything, it just seems kind of, I don't want to say generic, but I'll say generic. We're all kind of at this point in the narrative reeling from everything that happened in issue 43, and I think that going from that cover and that particular series of events to this one is a bit of a leap narratively. We don't really know who is behind the wheel. He looks kind of weird. We don't really know what the bats are. So it's it does its job on the newsstand. The colors really pop. It's quite vibrant, so it certainly draws your attention. But as far as my thoughts on the issue itself, they kind of get mirrored in the cover, so I don't want to leap too far ahead and spoil it for everybody.
Very good. And Kevin, I gave you a few minutes. You looked at the cover. I know it's not issue 43. What do you think about 44?
It's not one of my favorites. And when I was seeing who drew it and inked it, I'm like, okay. All right. So these guys did this one as well. And I'm like,
Baby, Zach, baby, baby, Zach, Zach, baby, baby, Zach, Zach, baby, 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 Zach, 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 Mike, Zach, Zach.
Yeah, I've got two of them I can use. So.
That's great. I love that. That's great. Well job on that, by the way. That's good. I'm not a fan of this cover, to be honest with you. I like to see Lady J's face personally. And I also, and I'm going to go over this a little bit later in the issue. And also the cartoon, I have an issue with Mirage motorcycles because they kept falling apart with the toys. Just going to throw that out there right now. Those haunt me, and they still haunt me. But I see two perfectly unused rockets facing towards the threat, not being used right now on the Mirage. I'm just not a fan of this. I'm just going to keep it to that.
Very nice. And second, a little slow at times. I wanted to share this to everybody. So that's what Kevin's talking about. We got two nice little rockets there that's completely unused. So anyways, Eric, again, welcome to the show. And the cover of issue 44, again, not 43, guys, 44. Do you have any thoughts on this cover? What do you think about it?
I hate it. It looks like somebody took a panel of the inside of the comic book and then just blew it up for the cover. It doesn't look like it was drawn this way. I'm a huge comic book guy, and I'm a huge Mike Zeck fan, and this doesn't even look like his work. To look up who can even prove that it was, and all the core stuff, and his work on Batman, and even the covers he did in the 30s. My all-time favorite cover of G.I. Joe is I don't remember the issue off the top of my head, but the one where Zartan's got gung-ho in the headlock and he's escaping from the pit. That's like a dynamite. This one looks, oh crap, we only have 2 hours until the deadline. Let's blow up a panel.
Great point. It feels like it got phoned in.
Yes. Yeah, and I agree with you guys. This part of the reason is because last issue 43, was such an amazing cover. I think we all ran and raved about it. So, I mean, it was amazing to follow up with this one here. I'm afraid to say anything bad about it because I don't get death threats from Jared. Since it is Beck.
He's not here.
And he never listens to the show, so I can badmouth.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're safe. You're in a safe space.
No, I agree with you guys that, this cover, like I said, part of it's just because it's following up such a magnificent cover. But, yeah, this does look like, like Eric said, they took a panel from inside and blew it up and said, here you go. Lady J, I don't know. Something about Lady J's face just doesn't sit right. I mean, she has nice cleavage. As Mr. Reitzel kept saying last issue or last episode, hot. Yeah. But yeah, her face, she got that like a pouty model face or something. When I mean, yes, Lady J is a beautiful woman, but her face, something about the lips, I think, just doesn't sit right with me. And yeah, I mean, it's a nice cover, but it's not what we're used to from the Magnificent Duo. So it's kind of a letdown. But let's get some Yojo Cola thoughts on this. Brad, we'll go and start with you. Out of 1 to 5, 1 to 5 Yojo Colas, how many do you give it?
Well, excuse me, as the writer formerly known as Jared 2.0, I will give it 2.0 colas.
Oh, there you go. And Kevin, how many Yojo Colas do you give this one?
A 1 Yojo Cola is like where it's like almost done and there's like hardly any carbonation in it, and then there's like a little bit of backwash in it.
Yes.
I'm going to bump this up to a 2 where it's about half done, but it's like maybe a half hour old. Some of the carbonation is gone, but you're still kind of like drinking it just because. And I bumped it up to a 2 because of the cleavage.
And again, my nickname at the job I used to have is Big Perv, so I agree. Eric, out of 1 to 5 Yojo Colas, 3 being standard, 5 again, as we talked about, 5 being something you want to blow up and put on your wall. I'm sure we're not there, so let's go back down to the other end. How many Yojo Colas do you give this one?
Yeah. I'll give it a 2.
See, looks like we got a 2 pretty much around. For myself, I'm going to give it a 2.5 because, again, on this shows, I don't mind halvesies. And as Kevin said, we do have some nice cleavage from Lady J that bumps it up just a little bit. So it's more like I wanted a Dr. Pepper, but I got a Dr. Shasta. A funny story on that. My son goes to summer fun. It's a little daycare type thing, whatever, for kids to go to and spend a couple hours with other kids playing and doing other stuff. And I picked him up the other day. He's like, Dad, I had a Dr. Freeze today. Oh, I'm amazed because he doesn't like anything. He likes soda, but he doesn't like freezes. He doesn't like milkshakes. He's a weird little kid. He's 7 and he doesn't like any of this. But yes, I'm like, okay. And the next day they had something at the school, at the community center where my wife and daughter went. And Grayson's like, Dad, Mom, can I have a Dr. Freeze? She's like, okay, sure. So she went to find one and she couldn't find freezes anywhere. So she asked one of the gals working there, do you guys have do you guys have freezes here? No. So my son's asking for a Dr. Freeze. No, the only thing we have Dr. Shasta. I'm like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, the Dr. Shasta and loved it and kept calling it Dr. Freeze. But yeah, this is what it was like to me. I wanted a Dr. Pepper and I got a Dr. Shasta. So it's not quite up to par in my opinion. And sounds like we're all agreed on that. So let's go ahead and let's get a synopsis on this issue. This was, let me see here, cover dated February of 1986. The on sale date was November the 5th of 1985. The cover price was 75 cents. Page count was 32 pages. Editor was Dennis O'Neill. Writer, as usual, Larry Hama. Penciler, Rod Wiggum. Inker, Andy Muschietzky. Letterer, Joseph Rusin. Colorist, George Russos. This is reprinted in G.I. Joe Volume 5 trade paperback. And Jared's not here to confirm, and Mike's Amazing World doesn't have it listed, but I'm assuming it's in the complete collection, probably either 4 or 5. I'm thinking 4 because Jared said the last issue was near the end of it, so it's either at the end of 4 or the beginning of 5. The cover credits, as we've already talked about, Mike Zeck and John Beatty, even though, honestly, it really doesn't look like it. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But anyways, the synopsis. This came from yojo.com. During a training exercise led by Lady J, a group of new Joe recruits are kidnapped by Dr. Mindbender. They are pit up against Mindbender's new bats and mutant plants called creeper bombs. After a long battle, the new Joes are able to prevail and become full members of the team. Yojo. So, also, I'm looking at my notes real quick. And on the cover, I did have a note here about Lady J's mouth. I forgot about this. I put down here, reminded me of a blow-up doll. Maybe it's just me, but and I'm going there this early. So anyways, so let's go ahead and get some thoughts on the actual issue. Going to my little cheat sheet here. I've got my self list to start. So let's go ahead and do some thoughts on this. I'm going to start first this time. First appearance alert. We have first appearance of Heavy Metal, Airtight, Bazooka, and Crankcase. The Battled Android Troopers, a.k.a. Bats, which I have one right here. And Dr. Mindbender, a.k.a. Dr. Mindwave. We also had a first appearance of the MBT Mauler Tank and the Silver Mirage. Other notes I have on this, I love page 3 with the bats running towards the Joes. It's just a great page. My next question, are these vine things that they're using is this the same vines from the Pyramid of Darkness that Destro had? That was my first thought on seeing those. My next note, Dr. Brainwave, question mark. I'm not quite sure where the mistake came from, if that was maybe an earlier name that Larry got and used and they changed it to Dr. Mindbender. I'm not quite sure on that one, but throughout this issue, they call him Dr. Brainwave. Even though
just so you know, Brainwave on page 5, but he does refer to him as Dr. Mindbender on page 22.
Oh, okay. So, see, I don't quite know what's going on.
I think Denny Shooter or whatever missed that one.
Either maybe he was making fun of him with his name, but
Denny O'Neill, yes. Denny, you missed that one.
Yeah, I don't know if he was making fun of it, but if that's the case, it seems odd to start it out making fun of the character's name when it's his first introduction. So I don't quite know. Super villain mistake number 1, not killing your enemies when you can. We go and take them captive and I'll tease them. And
I'm going to leave you with the sharks and lasers, and then I'm going to go in the next room and just listen to you die.
Exactly. Yeah. You got them at your mercy. They're unconscious. Like Scotty said, put a bullet in their head. Be done with it. This Bazooka seems a lot smarter than the one we got in the cartoon. Again, I love Bazooka. And again, he's not a genius here, but he's a lot smarter here than he comes across in the cartoon. The snakes? You know, again, I love Bazooka, but on page 12, I love Bazooka throwing the rifle at the bats. When his ammunition's not where he throws the rifle at him. I love that. And when he throws the gun or whatever it was at the bat and it knocks its head off and he's getting congratulated. I was aiming for the radiator. We're not going to tell anybody. Okay, and this is the throwback to last episode. Baroness and a Fang. Hot. And I love that Airtight was able to rig up masks from the stuff in the junkyard, and he used the scorpions. You know, again, Chekhov's gun. They introduced scorpions early. He kept it on box. You knew he was going to use them at some point. So I thought that was all great. And like I say, while the cover was, in my opinion, was less than what it could have been, I thought the actual issue itself was better than the cover, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and get some other thoughts from other people. We're going to go to our guest, Eric. You have thoughts on this issue?
I do. And I mostly mirror yours. I enjoyed the issue itself. Once you kind of get in past the cover, I didn't. This was the very first appearance of these guys. It's been a long time since I read the comic book. My favorite scene was also Bazooka throwing the machine gun on top of the Awe Striker at the bat, and the little comment afterwards about he was aiming for the radiator. That's classic. I love that. I realized this is the first issue I've read in a long time, and I read this about a week ago in preparation for this, and I had forgotten a lot of stuff that goes into it. I knots with the bomb, creeper bombs, and I mean, the whole thing was cool. It was a nice trip down memory lane, and I'm going to have to break out the rest of my comics and go over it again. So it's made me kind of nostalgic. But yeah, it's classic Joe, you know, make the best of whatever situation you're in, jury rig everything, and you know, kick ass. And so I really liked it. And I'm a big fan of Bazooka anyway.
Good. Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, Bazooka's a great character. I love him. Let's go ahead and move on to this other guy up here, Brad. Do you have thoughts on this issue?
Oh, I have thoughts. I have many, many thoughts.
Who are your favorite characters?
I'm glad though for this podcast and the diversity of opinion with it, and I'm glad that Eric, welcome, Eric, really liked this issue, and that's a great thing. And I think everybody comes into reviewing and rereading an issue with a certain amount of, I wouldn't say baggage, but just you have a history with Joe and with the characters and the comics. So for some people, this issue is going to work. For other people, it's not going to work. I'm other people in this case, apparently. In the years since this issue came out, rereading it, both just for my own pleasure and for the podcast, I tend to skip over 44. I'll read up to 43. I'll skip 44, and I'll go right into 45. And that's an experiment that I would actually recommend people listening and participating in this podcast to do sometime. Go read 43. Don't read 44 and go straight to 45 and tell me that the storyline overall doesn't work better. Because you end 43 with this whole new beginning for Wade Collins, Fred Seven, getting a second chance, or in his case, I guess a third chance at life. Then you'd cut straight to Ace and Ripcord and the Sky Striker above Cobra Island, and Ripcord distracted over Candy. And there's a definite story progression there, which I hate to say is kind of deflated by this one-shot, one-off issue with mutant spores and bat android troopers and Dr. What's his head? Brainwave. So this is not really my favorite issue. And in fact, I would even say, as far as the overall arc of G.I. Joe goes, this is the first time when I remember reading a G.I. Joe comic and not really being blown away by it. Not in the sense like blown away that like it blew away Candy and the Soft Master and Billy and that drunk driver last issue. Maybe Billy survived. We don't know yet. But for me, it just kind of suffers from in that it kind of does what would inevitably become the norm with G.I. Joe and subsequent issues, in that it introduces a bunch of new characters who really don't go on to have any huge lasting impact on the comic, with the exception of Bazooka. They're just there, and I'm talking Crankcase and Thunder, and especially Airtight. And that kind of ranks with me because Airtight was a cool toy. I thought it was a cool figure. He really stood out. Yes, he was the Neon Joe before Neon Joes became a thing, but it made sense for his military specialty of working in hazardous conditions. I think we said this in a previous podcast episode about the TV show, and saying if you see the guy in the big yellow suit running in one direction, you want to run in the other direction.
Yes.
But this kind of feels a bit like one of those contractual obligation issues where, the word came down from Hasbro that, we introduced these toys months ago and you haven't brought them into the comic back. You really got to get them out there in time for Christmas, or maybe Larry was just stuck for an idea on how to continue the overall story he'd been telling, because he's infamous for saying he doesn't really plot in advance, and maybe he's needed a one-off to buy him a little bit more time, which is not uncommon or anything to sniff at. When you're on a monthly comic, you really need to crank the issues out. So sometimes you just get a bit of writer's block, and this kind of feels like a writer's block issue for me. It's not a disaster. It's just, it doesn't really stick with me, even though it is nice to have Lady J in a leadership role and having the conditional Joes actually do their part to beat Cobra, and they do distinguish themselves with their abilities and skills, and they save the day and are largely not seen again, except for maybe the occasional issue of special missions and the occasional background appearance somewhere else. So that's sort of where it stands with the story. But I think I need to address the big bald mustachioed monocle in the room. We need to talk about Bruno. I mean, we need to talk about Dr. Mindbender. So longtime listeners of this podcast are going to know where I stand with characters like Zartan and Toe Jam and Xanax. So they'll assume they know where I'm going with this and what my thoughts towards Dr. Mindbender are. They will assume that Dr. Mindbender is my least favorite Cobra after Zartan and Toe Jam and Xanax. They will assume that, and they will be right. Dr. Mindbender is my least favorite Cobra as of this issue. And, I think part of it's just the way he's introduced. He's just kind of dropped in there. All of a sudden, there's the Baroness, and there's Destro, and there's this new guy, and everything about the issue kind of feels like it was dropped in to the timeline from a future timeline. Like this feels like a GI Joe comic from 1988 or 1989, or whenever they introduced the toxic guy, the guy with the scar face. I don't even know his name. He will be my least favorite Joe, or my least favorite Cobra, when we get to that issue many months from now. But I just feel like the story with like the mutant spores and Dr. Mindbender and the bats, while all individual elements on their own can work in GI Joe, it just feels like it doesn't fit within the story progression we've seen. We just had an issue where people die, where we learn about Wade Collins's fate and ordeal in Vietnam, and we see him confronting Stalker and Snake Eyes at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which is a very powerful place to go to. And then we have that hopeful ending that past traumas can be overcome, that past sins can be forgiven. And now we kind of jump into mutant spores and android troopers and a guy who looks like an extra from the Al Pacino movie Cruising.
And I will agree with you. This is very much a filler issue. I wonder how much of it is Hasbro saying, like you said, we've introduced these characters, you need to get them out there, because again, this came out right before Christmas. So get these toys out there so kids are begging their parents for it. And how much of it was, we had, like I said, we've had all this epic stuff last issue. Did Larry need a palate cleanser? Take a month to, for everyone to take a breath and, okay, we're ready to go. Okay. Okay. And then get back into the action. I don't quite know what happened, but yeah, this was very much a filler issue, for better or worse. Do you have any other thoughts there, Jared 2.0?
I have many thoughts, but I think I've said enough at this point. I think I need to take a break and have some water, and and sit down so my head stops spinning.
Well, then let's go ahead and listen to Kevin. I gave you a few minutes to read this issue earlier, so go ahead and.
Just finished it right now. Thank you. Yeah, it's great. A little depressing to read while Brad was going on about it, but still it's fine. Brad's spot on regarding this. It does feel like a filler issue, a contractual thing. It's like, why don't you throw some new toys that could use some love in there? But I do like it. It has some moments for me that, going back on it, it's interesting to read up again. But I agree with with Brad, or Jared 2.0, that it's one of those you can skip when you want to stick with the main storylines that have already been introduced going forward. But regarding, I got to talk about Mindbender. He's one of my least favorite looking characters, and he does feel like someone out of Cruising, or some other weird character. It's funny. A lot of women complain about how women superheroes, either on screen or in comics, their outfits are totally not practical. There's nothing practical about the way Dr. Mindbender has ever looked. The only time I will forgive the look of Dr. Mindbender is when I actually see fellow G.I. Joe finest members dress up as Dr. Mindbender. There's one where I think that he does wear like a lab coat or something. That's fine. That works. Or when he had a suit on for an episode. But his normal look is just really bad. And I've never liked that. And there's just certain Joes and Cobras that are introduced later where I just can't forgive the way that they look. And I think Mindbender is the first one that just really was just like, I like the idea of Mindbender. I the guy that messes with science and people's minds and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But the look, come on. What were people thinking back then? Anyway, I'll get past that. Now, I did something interesting, guys. Normally, when I prep for these shows for you, Aaron, I will read the comic first again to get up to date with it, and then I'll watch the cartoon. Didn't do that this time. I watched the cartoon first. Then I went back and read the comic. So, which is interesting because they both showcase Bazooka. And we're going to have an interesting discussion about Bazooka when we get to the cartoon. And so reading this again, I was just like, okay, this is the Bazooka I prefer. And I'll get into that with the cartoon later. I teased Mirage, the Silver Mirage bikes. Freaking hate those. Those toys were just horrible. They kept falling apart. A little canopy, the rockets on it. You guys know what I'm talking about too. You know it. Every time you put your Joes in there, the canopy, the sidecar falls off. The little rockets fall off. You know what I'm talking. And what is with that little stupid silver backpack thing that came with it that you're supposed to put on there? Is that supposed to make it go faster? What is that? What did it do? When it falls apart, is that what you do? You roll over on it so you don't kill yourself because the toy sucked? I'm just saying. Okay.
I assume it was a bulletproof back thing to protect you from being shot. Maybe, I don't know. I not quite sure.
Lame. Sorry.
I'm not saying it's good.
I mentioned I never liked those toys, and it sucks too because the Ram was cool. Having a sidecar motorcycle is great, but that toy just was not produced well. So when I watch them in the cartoons or read them on here, I have these really horrible memories of all of these chores that I did to pay for that myself later. Totally felt ripped off later. Okay. The creeper bombs I thought was interesting. Didn't like the way how they were introduced with the bats. I do like the concept. I always felt like somebody in Hufflepuff could have figured out a way to combat those. I do want to give it up for Heavy Metal, in the tank there, admitting that he went to a loud Twisted Sister concert. I think that's great. I do a hair metal podcast on our Fandom Podcast Network, and we did a show about Twisted Sister, and there's a great Twisted Sister. I think it's a documentary on, I think it's Amazon or something. Really, really good, by the way. Car maze. Okay, I get it. You want to kind of trap the Joes, kind of play with them a little bit, not kill them right away, as you mentioned, There is a bike jump that Lady J does in the Mirage, but she has to explain it as she's doing it. So as a reader, you know that you can avoid all physics on that actual jump. I have to pay attention more. I always like the words they use to describe explosions and bullets and stuff. And there was two that were using this that kind of started to get on my nerves as I was reading it again. Pathoom and Thoom. I'll say that again. Pathoom and Thoom. Pathoom and Thoom. Pathoom and Thoom. Just going to throw it out there. Feel free to use that for a soundbite later.
Of course.
Let's give it up for Airtight. I do like the fact that Airtight did some cool stuff here. And you're right, Brad. He looks the way he should look. Because when Airtight comes in the room looking that way, you get the F out. And one of my good friends in the Georgia garrison does a really good Airtight, by the way. I did like the Airtight and Bazooka attack mode there. And that they both had an idea on how to handle that situation. And they had... they were able to get I think the Fang trapped in the car masher thing. So I thought that was really cool. And like I said, this isn't a great issue, but I'm picking some moments that I did try to enjoy anyway. And of course, the Fang comes in with Baroness. Yeah, okay, sorry. And I like how there's only hanging room for Destro and Mindbender on that. Because I'm sure that none of us had Fang toys, which is one of the best toys, by the way. Even though being very close to propellers that could cut off your head, you just threw that out as a toy, but you either put them on the skids or you would hang from them. I thought that was kind of cool. So, hey, no post office box the pit in this issue. Weird, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
My thoughts there. Yes, it's a filler issue. Contractual, yes. And I'm with Brad there. You can skip over this one.
Yeah, other than first appearances, there's not much really that, except for later on when these characters happen to show up, like where they first appear at. This is it, and other than that, there's not a real big draw, I guess, for it. Yeah, you're not wrong.
I would add that, I mean, lest some of us, some, not all, feel or sound a little down on this issue. This series does course correct in a big way for a very nice stretch beginning
Yes.
with next issue. But getting back to this one, I mean, I remember that reading this when I said earlier for the first time reading a G.I. Joe comic since I started collecting it 15 or 16 issues before. It was the first time I didn't really love a new issue. And like, every issue from 28 when I jumped in to through 43, I thought was fantastic. Every month it arrived and it was a highlight. But this one felt like you're kind of hitting a pothole. You're like, well, what the heck was that? I mean, I was kind of disappointed in it because looking at the surrounding material, you can really see a maturity in the stories being told in the preceding run from the Snake Eyes, the origin through 43, which all feels very connected to that Snake Eyes origin because it is connected with the line in 26. 6 of us walked into that steamy, stinking valley and 3 of us walked out. So like in that context, this issue feels like it doesn't really belong. It feels like it could be something that would have been been put out in special missions like 6-8 months later. So in that context, this kind of felt like a step backward or forward, depending on where you sit with G.I. Joe. But it makes my little conspiracy brain wonder if someone at Marvel or Hasbro said, hey, tone down the Vietnam War stuff, because starting this issue, we kind of get away from that for a while, if I recall. It's not until the 90s, both, I guess, the decade and even in the comic, that whole Snake Eyes trilogy, where we see a bit more of the Vietnam years. But even then, it was more about Saigon, not the DMZ or the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So I almost wonder if Hasbro said, you're kind of pushing a little into adult territory, and we're trying to sell toys and get people to watch the show and stuff like that. So, and again, that kind of feels like that across the board. We even talked about the comic cover, that it's fine, but it feels a little like, again, the contractual obligation phoned in, at least from where I'm sitting. And I'm a noted grumpy cynic anyway, so maybe that's just me.
A little
Totally viable. Yeah. They got to go. Let's show some lighthearted episode or issues here and sell some toys too.
Yeah, and truthfully, the previous issue 43 was pretty dark. So maybe it was more of just a benign decision of saying, we did some big stuff last issue. Let's give everybody a chance to kind of catch their breath before we go back into it.
A comment you made earlier, though, about how Larry will sometimes write on the fly and not know the ending. I can almost kind of feel like he wrote that 43 going, geez, I don't know where the hell to go from there.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Yeah.
All right. You want me to do a filler one? Saw some toys? Fine. Here we go. Here's this.
Yeah. That happens. It happens.
I mean, again, as we've said for quite a while now, and as Brad just mentioned, each of these issues for the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been, have been magnificent issues for the most part. So, I mean, I'm not going to fault Larry if he needed a month to decompress and, get his gears going again. Because, again, like Brad said, these next few issues that are coming up are some of the greatest issues also, this entire run. This is just like a little hiccup, I think we've all said, just a spot in the road to stop.
But it is a very well written issue, though. I will say overall, like from you mentioned Chekhov's Scorpion box. I mean, that was the original intent with Chekhov, and then he thought scorpions would be too obscure, so he decided to use a pistol for his metaphor instead. But that is true. It is set up, and it does pay off. And all the Joes, they're being recruited. This is like their chance to prove themselves. But they actually all do their part to prove themselves in some way that they belong on the G.I. Joe team. And it has a nice circular coming around to the end where Lady J says, as far as I'm concerned, you all pass with flying colors, as if there was any doubt they were going to pass, because we saw the toys in the stores and we owned some of the toys by that point. Of course, they're going to be brought into the show. But I kind of wish that Dr. Brainwave was more of a lesser villain than some of the other ones. Although I will agree with Kevin that it's not so much the character as it is the aesthetic. And didn't they do like a more recent action figure of him where he was just like in a white lab coat or something like that? Yeah, like something like that. The mad scientist kind of thing.
And Brad, I just want to say I'm a little disappointed in you right now. You could have used this time to really give a really nice nickname to another character that you hate. You could have just called him Mr. Brain Fart. Can we just call him
Dr. Brain Fart?
Yes,
Yeah.
just call him Dr.
Yeah.
Brainfart.
Okay.
So
For you, Kevin, going forward, I will refer to him as Dr. Brainfart.
Yes.
Henceforth, he shall be known as Dr. Brainfart. But seriously, I mean, how does Dr. Mindbender get to be a recurring villain? Whereas in the previous issue, Scrap Iron, who really only appears in that issue, kills 4 people, which is a first for Cobra. And he gets sent packing. I almost want a side story where he's brought before Cobra Commander and he's like, "You killed people? Are you mad? Civilians? We don't kill civilians. We take them hostage. We brainwash them. And we infect them with mutant spores and take
And
over
then
the theme parks. And
We barely guard them later, so they might be able to escape.
we shoot wildly at them and don't hit them and send them running to the G.I. Joe team. And Scrap Iron's all like, "All right, that's it. I'm out of here." And he just bails. He's like, "I'm going to go somewhere else." He opens a comic book store somewhere or a scrap metal business and retires.
So what you're
comfortably.
saying is Brad, the Cobra should send Scrap Iron and Firefly to do all their bidding, right?
You know what? If Cobra moved Firefly and Scrap Iron into leadership positions, they would have won. They would have won because those are the ruthless characters. Instead, they get these clowns.
Yeah, and then maybe send the Baroness to go get that conch that renders all men useless. There you go.
now I've got it. Oh, never mind. I've got 2 comments. One, my mind just turned off. So I got one comment is that Hasbro's been announcing for a while that they're going to do a Dr. Mindbender figure. They just announced in San Diego that they're releasing them a few at a time for people to buy. I'm assuming that Kevin and Brad are not rushing out the Hasbro Pulse to buy the Dr. Mindbender figure.
If the white lab coat thing looks cool, because I'm glad you brought that up, Brad, because one of my good friends, Matt, he lives in Vegas, and he does the white lab coat Dr. Mindbender cosplay, and it looks freaking great. And when you see it, you know who it is, because he's Matt's bald, and he does the cool mustache and everything, and he's got the Cobra thing, and that's the way that's the way Mindfart should look. And he dresses the other way, he's Mindfart.
Well,
or whatever.
I know we don't like to talk about G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, but I will say that the look they gave, I guess it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt, sort of as the evil scientist who's revealed to be Cobra Commander with like the lab coat and that breathing apparatus and stuff like that. That would have been a cool look for a Dr. Mindbender. That's why you have the lab coat, the mad scientist look, and then you have some sort of thing. But
Yes,
I should go down to Hasbro down in Pawtucket and ask them why. They're going to escort me from the premises again, but it might be worth it to get some answers.
But I when I was watching Rise of Cobra, I thought maybe that was going to turn out to be Dr. Mindbender before we got the Cobra Commander reveal,
which was so dumb.
Yes,
sorry,
yes.
It was dumb.
No, I agree. That's
a whole other discussion.
Yes,
for a future Bravo team episode. I hope
I have plans for that on a Bravo team at some point. So let's go ahead and move on from this issue. Well, not really from this issue, but yes, Kevin.
I just had some stuff regarding the how like talk about the ads in the comic,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do we do that now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. All right. So if you actually have the real issue, like Brad and I do, I just want to go over some stuff. First of all, there was no post office box of Pitt, and I couldn't remember how many past issues didn't have that in there, and if there was a reason for that, why this issue did not. Maybe because what's his Mr. Name that created a S storm in the last issue, and because he was afraid that the issues were getting a little too nice, and they wanted to play to kids and the toys, which is a discussion that we just had. So lions and tigers and bears ad right here in the very front with the next to the splash page. There's a girl that looks a lot like Alice in Wonderland. She goes, "Oh my." And at the bottom, it says, "Say hello to the 3 new Star Comic sensations, the Savage Thundercats, the Cuddly Care Bears, and Misty, the soap opera superstar who's setting the world on fire." Guys, I didn't read all the comics when I was a kid, but who the heck is Misty?
No clue.
What?
No clue. Yeah, I never heard, except for those ads, and I forgot.
I'm just saying that was kind of weird there.
can
I give a shout out to the GoBot ads here? especially the cross promotion with Nestle Quick here, and it says you can win a complete set of the GoBot toys. And grand prize is a complete set of the GoBot toys. First prize, GoBot messenger vehicle. And they were really promoting the GoBots in this issue, because on page 7 there's also the challenge of the GoBots ad as well, which was interesting. And they said they're awesome. Check out their TV listings for time and station. And I'm just going to admit that they were a lot easier to transform than Transformers. I love this ad here, the glow-in-the-dark solar ball. The ad really makes it look like it's like, oh, that thing looks like it's 4 feet wide. You read the fine print. Solar ball for glowing green, 2 3/4 diameter. Comes with Saturn wrist rings. It's basically, you have to put this thing up to a light to make them work. And you have to send your check or money order to Pineapple Kids Club, P.O. Box 69 in Buffalo, New York, right? And then it says for postage, the whole thing costs $3. For postage, it's $1. But then it says Canadian orders add $1 extra. And at the bottom, Pineapple Kids Club is located in 95 Grand Avenue, Toronto, Canada. Sorry, but that's kind of funny. Yeah. The last thing I want to mention is the Secret Wars 2 ad on the back. Secret Wars 2. And as of this recording, we just finished up with Comic-Con for 2022, and Secret Wars were mentioned and put on the schedule for your Marvel fans, movies, and, of course, streaming. Check that out. Anyway, that's all I got for the ads.
And I looked real quick, and apparently Misty was Millie the Model's cousin. Millie the Model,
who's that?
Millie the Model being another Marvel character from the mid-40s to the early 70s.
Hot?
Well, I don't know. It says in Misty series, Millie was plump and matronly. So she was long retired from modeling. And so maybe at one time, I don't know about this point. And apparently Misty was only a 6-issue series that they had left. They could exercise the option to bring it into a full series. Didn't happen.
All right. Go Misty.
I just had to look it up and see, because other than these ads, and I forget that she's in the ad. I mean, I just think she's another just random throwaway person that's in there. So I forget.
Actually, I would like to add one little bit of trivia here, because I just recently, like last month, read a book by Douglas Wolk called All of the Marvels, A Journey to the Ends, the Biggest Story Ever Told. And what he did was he sat down and he read every Marvel comic from the beginning of the Marvel Universe right up to the present.
Did he read 43 twice?
He didn't read the G.I. Joe ones, which I guess because he said technically they weren't part of the Marvel Universe. It's a little nebulous. Although I would have
even when they combine them with the Transformers travesty.
Yeah, I know, and that is a question that people have asked. Is that canon? Is that canonical?
No.
We'd like to think it isn't. Although I like to think if he had read G.I. Joe, he would have skipped 44. Sorry, Eric. We're ragging on the issue. We know you liked it more than we did. But one thing that he pointed out was
sense of nostalgia than anything.
Eric's like, yeah, I didn't write it. I'm not Larry. Don't.
But one of the interesting things that he pointed out in the book was that for a period, stuff like Misty was sort of what was paying the bills, because when after Frederick Wertham got through with them and the Comics Code came into play and all the really cool EC comics went away, it was comics about young nurses in the city. It was geared more towards girls and getting girls to read comics. And in the early years of the Marvel Universe, it was the nurse comics. It was the girl in the big city comic that was actually sort of paying the bills and keeping the lights on at Marvel until the superhero books really started to kind of take off. So, that
makes sense.
Yeah. Like I'd not heard of Misty, but then until I opened this issue for the first time in many years, I had forgotten about Star Comics. Just like I now remembered the New Universe and what a smashing success the New Universe was. But that's going deep dive into comic history.
So for this issue, again, something I stole from Pat and Jared's show. This, I like to take someone, the real American hero, either the Joe, Cobra, or a third party that's we think did an exceptional good job. So real quick.
The real American hero.
So this is, like I said, the Joe, Cobra, or a third party that you thought did an exceptionally good job and deserves special recognition. So let's go ahead and start with Brad. Look at the big brain on Brad. Do you have a real American hero for this issue?
I do. I was going to go with Lady J because she doesn't really get a lot of prominence in these early issues, but I'm going to save that pick for later on because I know in a future issue she kind of steps up and does some cool stuff. I'm going to give it to Airtight. I like the character. I love the toy, the action figure, and I love that box of scorpions.
Yes, Kevin. Do you have
same? I'm giving it to Airtight. Brad's right on there because, you know, when I'm like, the dude collects scorpions. All right, I guess, you know, and then he uses it later, but he also uses the battery acid to get rid of the weird spores as well. And I liked that he and what was it? Bazooka were able to coordinate their attack and stuff. And I've never seen Airtight cooler. And that's what kind of saves this issue for me is Airtight because he doesn't get a lot of love elsewhere.
Right. And Eric, do you have a character in here that you thought did an exceptionally good job? You can pick Airtight. The other two have done well. I don't care if you duplicate or do you have your own?
Well, I kind of sensed that they were both going to pick Airtight. It just seemed kind of thinking that way. So Bazooka, or picking the cannon off the top of the Oz Striker and throwing it at the bat. He's the one that got the whole outside the box thinking rolling. And
you know where he got that move from, don't you? He saw or heard that that Chuckles did the same thing, but with a missile and threw it at some Cobras with a Hawaiian shirt on.
Did he get it from Chuckles or did Chuckles steal it from Bazooka?
Well, if this issue came out first, maybe Chuckles stole it from him because the movie came out in 87.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe you're right.
So Chuckles stole it from him.
There you go.
Sorry. But no, and as far as me, I'm going to agree. I like Bazooka. I thought that, again, like Eric said, he did a great job on chucking that big gun at the bat. But I am also going to give it up to Airtight because, again, myself for a while back when I worked at the internet company, I had a pet scorpion. And then when it died, I had a pet tarantula. But so I liked him collecting scorpions and then being able to reuse that. And he came with a lot of ideas to help the Joes out. So, yes, in my opinion, this issue, the real American hero goes to Mr. Airtight. And I knew a girl in high school that had the same nickname. That's another story entirely. Moving on to another section. Another section I stole from Jared and Pat. A page of art. If you have any one page of art in this book and take it home and get it signed and hang it on your wall, maybe blow it up and hang it behind you as you podcast. Which page of art would that be? So I'm going to start with our guest this time. Eric, is there a page of art in this book that really stands out to you?
Well, no. I mean, the art's not horrible, but there's nothing that jumps out and I vote for go.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What was that last bit?
The bots commercial.
Oh, go.
The GoBots ad. I love it. Yes.
Very nice. And for my page of art, Kevin, what page of art would you like to take out of this book?
I'm going to go with the Misty. Is that cool? We do the Misty.
At this point, yeah, I'll go and give you Misty. I mean,
the soap opera superstar who's setting the world. Is that good?
even though I don't know how much the world was set on fire, so she only had a 6-issue series that wasn't picked up. So
I have a real one here. I do.
Okay.
By the way, I forgot. There's a really cool like Jetsons and Galtar. Is it Galtar ad as well? And I forgot also too. Before I choose it, I love the GI Joe and Transformers ad for video cassettes. Now dropped down to $14.95 instead of $29.95 when they were earlier.
So before you pick your page of art, I'm going to interrupt you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I have to wonder, what does this say about this issue that you guys seem to want to talk more about the ads and the other stuff than the actual issue?
Just saying. If I had to pick one, okay, so you know how we've had the issue with the cover, especially with Lady J. Lady J, show Lady J's face. And I'm picking page 7 because I love the fact that you see a really cool picture of the Mauler there with Heavy Metal saying, "Ow, I haven't had a headache this bad since I went to see that Twisted Sister concert." You know, little hair metal thrown in there too. But you get a really nice shot of Lady J right there in the corner there. See that?
Yes.
You know, she's wearing the helmet and looks kind of Lady J-ish, a little Zorana-ish as well. But that's the way we want to see Lady J. So that's my pick, page 7.
And actually, I had that down as one of my choices also. So very good. Very nice. I have to agree with that. And Brad, look at the big brain on. I actually like that line. Anyways, Brad, what issue or what page do you want?
Take a wild guess how many times after Pulp Fiction came out, people said that exact same thing to me.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would walk into a room, hey, check out the big brain on Brad.
That's what I try to avoid doing when I can, because I'm sure you've gotten tired.
And I do have a big brain. I mean, let's be honest here.
Did someone recite Ezekiel to you?
Somebody actually did that once, and I was just like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. Unless you're actually actively going to put me in my misery, stop doing that. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to go with page 21, just because I could see on its own without the dialogue bubbles, it's almost this very weird, contained story of Destro and Mindbender sitting in the cab of their van, just a regular van, regular old panel van they rented from U-Haul, and then there's the panel below it of the Mauler and the Ostriker kind of racing towards something, and then Airtight flings a medical box, and then the medical box crashes scorpions through the windshield, and they freak out and start running. It's a nice little 3-act story right there in one page.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a nice page also. But for my page, I am going to go for page 18. I think it's a very dynamic, very action-packed page. For those viewing at home, I will show you what I'm referring to, because again, I'm learning to do technology. Apparently, I just love the way that they plow through those vehicles and the spores and all that, and then we get Airtight pouring the battery acid on the plants and killing them. I just think this is a very active page. A lot of we get Bazooka in there. They get the mask that Airtight made for them. Out of a mediocre issue, I think this is a pretty good page of art, personally. So this is page 18 is the one that I'm going for. Yeah, all good choices. Even Eric's ad is a good choice out of this issue, because this issue.
Am I the only one that liked GoBots over Transformers at the time? Because I'll admit that.
Yes.
Okay.
As I said, I think maybe it was last issue or somewhere.
They gave you cars that the Transformers wouldn't give you, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I always considered GoBots the backwoods cousin of Transformers.
You're not alone there. You're not alone there.
All right, you know what? I will say that I think with the GoBots, the one advantage they had is because they were small. The tooling didn't have to be as elaborate as it was for the Transformers toys, so they were able to come up with a wider range of toys. I remember there being a really cool GoBot that was like a Harrier jump jet,
Yeah.
And that I remember that one looking pretty cool. And some of
Did
the
I
other
also
ones, too.
mention that they're easier to transform?
You did mention that, yes.
They are too, and they're probably a lot cheaper on eBay now too, aren't they?
Probably.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't have any GoBots or Transformers as a kid. I kind
Although
of
I do want to quickly just add that I think, just to say something nice about the issue though, is the art is actually quite nice on the inside. They
That's a
didn't
good
just
point.
phone in the art, and I just personally in the pantheon, Rod Wiggum and Andy Mashinsky are probably my favorite Joe illustrators after Herb Trimpe.
And this issue might not have been so bad, in quotes, if it hadn't followed issue 43.
Yeah, I think it's placement. Yeah.
Because like I say, 43 was such a dramatic issue and such a, all this going on, had a magnificent cover, followed by this. I think that's part of the problem. If this had been maybe earlier in the run, during some of the more mediocre issues, it may not have been so bad on us. But that's what I'm racking it up to.
Yeah, it does its job. I think it ultimately, the consensus is it feels like more like an episode of the TV series than an issue of the comic, and we'll get into that when we talk about the TV series.
And they did have the seeds from the Pyramid of Darkness, so yeah, I very much agree. Well, we're going to take a quick break, give us time to refill our Yojo Colas and all that. We'll be right back.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
And then I'll pull this all out because I forgot to load some commercials in here. You guys need to get some water, beer, heroin, whatever. Go on to the cartoon.
Ooh, heroin, yes.
If you guys are ready, we will move on.
Yeah, I might have to strategically hit my mute a couple times because my family just came home, so they might be a little noisy.
Tell them to shut up. We're recording. No, again,
you have the option to hit mute at the bottom of StreamYard too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go and get back into the show.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Welcome back. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at G.I. Joe the cartoon. And again, it looks like I'll throw that in there because I don't have that one loaded either. Again, I'm learning after how many years. But anyways, so I'll throw the promo in, or the intro. And so this is the episode entitled Cobra Quake, directed by John Gibbs and Terry Lennon, written by Ted Pedersen, first aired October the 28th, 1985. The synopsis: in an attempt to stop the World Financial Summit, Cobra heads to Japan to cause an artificially created earthquake that will destroy Tokyo unless G.I. Joe can stop their plans. Dun, dun, dun. Anyways, that's the synopsis. Let's go ahead and get some thoughts on this. Let's go ahead and start with, someone's got notes. Since Jared's not here, we'll have to go with Kevin's note. Kevin.
I got some notes. Okay, so usually when I write my notes, I write them in the order of the show. So if you've watched the episode and you're listening, you can kind of go, following it. But I do want to cut straight towards the middle or end because I have the episode playing as we're doing this podcast. And I noticed something kind of funny that's not in my notes. It's when all the Joes are guarding the summit. But right before that, they're the Cobra Temple or wherever they're at, the Cobras. I noticed that Cobra Commander and the Baroness are leaving the front entrance of the Cobra thing, and they're on one of those rolling walkways that you see in like airports, which I thought was kind of funny. But then you get to all the Joes guarding, and I just want to tell you guys who's guarding it. So it cuts to it after Cobra goes. They show like a cool little cityscape, of course, first, and then you see green shirt Joes. You see Airtight, okay? Then you see a green shirt Joe talking to Cover Girl, but Cover Girl's turned around. So you see her butt. Then you see you see Spirit, like he's pointing at someone and he's talking to someone while he's leaning up against one of the tanks or something like that. So you can't really see who it is. Then you see a green shirt. And then I think you see Thunder. Not sure who it is. Green shirt. Then you see Clutch, And then you see Rakondo having a conversation with Roadblock. Then you see Green Shirt, and then it ends on a really nice shot of Scarlet. So I just want to mention that real quick. But I like the fact. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I'm going to interject and say that I'm disappointed in you. You mentioned Scarlet and CoverGirl's butt, and not once did I hear.
I was hoping you would have come in there.
I was not raised with it. You got going on. I was on mute.
Pause for a second for you, Aaron, just so you can join the.
I was muted, and it took me a second because I'm a little slow. I didn't want my sound to interrupt you, but yeah, Mike.
You see CoverGirl's butt.
Hot.
Thank you. All right.
Carry on.
So we have Yojo Airlines. Thought that was kind of cool. Wild Weasel and the Rattlers attack. And I love the fact that they make a makeshift runway by using the carpet formation bombs. I thought that was kind of cool. All right. Did I mention my dislike for the Mirage motorcycles? I don't care any way we see them. But there is a moment. Flint uses his Mirage and jumps over a Cobra very slowly and disarms him. But there's a scene that we didn't see, is that when the Mirage lands, it breaks apart. We didn't see that, but it does happen. Just saying. Funny scene when the Rattler crashes and you see the Rattler pilot or you see the Cobra pilot come out. You knew the coconut was going to fall on his head, and it happened. That was kind of cool. Wild Weasel steals a little line from Cobra Commander. I will have revenge. Can we have a quick discussion? Can you bring us all up on screen here, Aaron? Because I got to have a discussion with everyone here. Can we talk about, before I go on, can we have a discussion about Bazooka and how he is portrayed in the cartoon as opposed to the comics? I'm just going to say it. Is he slow? Is he special? Does he ride the short bus? Or doesn't have a lot of confidence? Is he an introvert? Why does the cartoon do what they do to Bazooka in this series, as opposed to the way that we see him in the comic?
Well, there's several Joes that's portrayed differently in the show than they do in the comic.
They do.
Yeah.
Why do they do this with Bazooka?
Are you talking differently or differently, though?
Differently. I mean, they really play him dumb.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say it.
Low.
They really this is a disservice to this character, especially the way that he is portrayed in the comic series. We just watched him kick some ass in a comic that we pretty much say you can skip, but we've seen him do better. Why do they do this in the cartoon series? Before I go on, please give me your short response of why you think this is the thing. Brad, start with you.
I think it's because with TV, when you're dealing with a large cast of characters, you need to kind of have them shorthanded. You Roadblock rhymes, and Bazooka's an idiot. And just to give the writers something easy to kind of shorthand and characterize whoever's appearing in the issue. Again, I wasn't a fly on the wall of that particular writer's room. I'm not sure if Hasbro would send it all and say, push these characters, don't push those characters, and just bullet points of what the character type is, so you can kind of throw them in there. And I think the reason that Bazooka works better as a soldier and as a believable Joe in the comic, again, comes back down to Larry and Larry's military background. And Larry would never treat any soldier like he was an idiot. They were always worthy of respect.
I thought they were doing him a disservice because they gave him a Patriots jersey. Okay. But Aaron, have you noticed that? Why do they do that to Bazooka in the TV series? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know why. My mom growing up was a special ed aide for special education.
I have a special needs brother, so I understand. And they were made, special needs was made fun of a lot more back then. Maybe this is just a PC thing now that bugs me, I guess.
But yeah, Bazooka usually comes across as he would have been a student in my mom's classroom. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't know why, other than like Brad said, again, the cartoon, as I talked to Buzz about, they didn't really read they got some of the comics occasionally. They didn't really read the comics. They didn't care about the comics. They were doing their own thing. And I think it's just, yeah, like Brad said, it's shorthand. They didn't have, like Larry had, episode or issue per issue every month where he could expand them on characters. He could give them backgrounds. He could flush them out. Where here they had a 22-minute episode and they had, these jillion characters that had to fit in every month. Or
they made him talk so slow, though. The episode could have been 15 minutes.
But I think that's one reason why they did is just to set him apart, because for the most part, the rest of the Joes sound more intelligent.
I'm just going to say he has a confidence issue, and that's
we'll
fine.
get into cross country later on. But
Eric, did you have any thoughts on how they kind of dumbed him down in the cartoon?
Well, I'm, of course, not a fan because he wouldn't be a Joe if he was, really an idiot. But yeah, I agree with Jared 2.0's shorthand analysis, and there always has to be somebody that you give exposition to explain what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I had to have that conversation with you guys because that was just bugging me watching this episode, and when I see him portrayed later on. So. And I actually like the figure too. I always thought it was just kind of cool. He had a yes, I tease that he has a Patriots jersey on, but I like the fact that he was there was a type of sports jersey that was on a character. I always thought that was kind of cool. So before I go on, I just did have a couple trivia here. One of the few episodes featuring Thunder and the Slugger vehicle also features Quick Kick Storm Shadow confrontation, which I'm going to come back to in a second. This episode features a cartoon-only Joe trainee named Takeo. Years later, the comic book series America's Elite would list her as a Joe reservist. Interesting. One thing I do love about how the cartoon highlights characters, like I am a Shipwreck fan because of the cartoon. Okay. And I love I will take 50 episodes of Quick Kick doing movie impersonations, then read issue number 44 again. I love his pop culture references. He cracks me up. I could take Quick Kick all day long. Some people may disagree, and that's fine. Speaking of Quick Kick, Storm Shadow and Quick Kick battles. Okay, I'm going to give the battle in this episode. I'm going to give it to Quick Kick. No matter what Storm Shadow says, he was a scaredy cat. He took off.
Yes.
I'm sorry. He did didn't he just kind of pretty much say, this enemy is too good for me, and I'm going to just let you guys handle them while I try to escape. Yeah. And the first time I remember these two came together was in my favorite miniseries, Pyramid of Darkness. I'm sorry, but Quick Kick kicked his ass. So that's one thing I like about Quick Kick is that he is kicking some Storm Shadow ass, but that's not going to happen in the cartoon, in the comic book. Just say that. Scrap Iron, the puppet bomb. Bazooka wanted to disarm it, but Quick Kick said nope. Baroness captures Lady J. Hot. I gotta say, like I did in the last TV, Cobra has the best bases. I mean, you have a nice base in Japan here. We really need to meet or have a figure for the Cobra architect. That needs to be a villain, because they should get paid a lot of money. I'm just saying, even in Japan. Come on.
Yeah.
Bazooka wants to disarm a landmine. Quick Kicks. Nope. I do like the idea of the earthquake plan, capturing Dr. Morita. That is a solid plan. That could work. But I say go back to the last episode and just go get that conch again, because that and the metal melting weapon that I mentioned last one that was used to use that should be again given to every
yes.
Cobra, whatever the hell that was. Too powerful. I love the snake pit scene. Slash would be proud. See who laughs, see who gets that one. But come on, man. Quick Kick freezes the snakes? That was kind of mean. The Cobra briefcase bombs. I would love to see my fellow finest people make those. Bazooka's disarm instructions. Do you guys remember what it was?
Not offhand, no. Refresh our memory.
Red, blue, yellow. No, black. No, red, yellow. No, it was black and then yellow. And Takeo, using her throwing star, pulled from inside her shirt to disarm the final bomb.
Hot.
And then Bazooka thought so as well. See how he kind of hugs her? He brings her in a little bit.
Do you blame him?
Hot. Now, Bazooka saves Takeo with the Mirage. Mirage. As they're escaping, there's this miracle hover wall jump they do to escape. What ramp did they go off there? I don't know what that is.
The mystical 80s ramp that showed up everywhere for cars to jump over everything. And
have I mentioned I hate the Mirages? I'm just going to say
no. What's your problem with the Mirage? I thought it was a great. Never mind.
I'm still scarred by that. I'm sorry.
Apparently.
They should have gone back to using Rams. I'm just saying. They came with a really, really big weapon. I don't know if they remember that or not, but I'm sure they had to sell some more crappy Mirage toys. And the last scene was kind of funny. The food scene, the octopus and Gung Ho's like, wait till it gets to your stomach. That's all I got.
Let's go ahead and move on to our guest, Eric. Did you watch this episode and do you have thoughts on it?
That was comprehensive. I did watch. I had two thoughts really when I was watching it. The first one was the top secret meeting with the earthologist in the public access Shinto shrine was maybe not the best tactical move. and you know, and everyone was surprised when Cobra showed up. And I hearkened back to, Bazooka's not only idiot. But and then I was a bigger fan of the comic book than I was the cartoon growing up. And the one thought I had and Storm Shadow were getting into it is I seem to remember, and I've been trying to think for the last few hours, and I can't remember when it happened, but there was a comic book issue in which Quick Kick and Storm Shadow get into it, and Storm Shadow just wastes him in like 2 panels, 3 panels. It was ridiculous. And I was kind of struck by the juxtaposition of that. Not that really anything in the overall, but, Quick Kick was not the best hand-to-hand fighter on the Joe T comic book.
Well, the cartoon, they tended to give Quick Kick, and I've complained about this before, and I think I'll probably mention this episode. Snake Eyes was very downgraded in this show, and a lot of his stuff was given to other characters. So I agree with you there.
Sure, and again, I'm coming in from a mostly this thing because I don't think I've seen any episode of the cartoon in 15 years. Before maybe a week ago, I watched a couple of times, and
yeah. And like we say, the cartoon for the most part is usually not as good as what Larry was doing, but we all have a love for the cartoon to one extent or the other, for different reasons. But I don't think I met anyone that says, "What are you talking about? The cartoon's better than the comic book." So, and I'm sure there's someone out there that thinks that. They're wrong, but I'm sure there's someone out there that put your finger down, Kevin. Do you have any thoughts, Eric?
No, that was it.
All right. And then we'll go over to Brad, the writer formerly known as Jared 2.0, a.k.a. Dr. Brainwave Hater. You're muted, Brad.
Yeah, sorry, that's Dr. Brain Fart, not Dr. Brain
sorry.
Hater. I mean, come on. I'll keep this quick because I think Kevin, I'm in agreement with everything he kind of posited in his take on this. And kind of like Eric, while I don't remember this one really from the first run of this series, even though it aired in 1985, which means I probably did see it. Um, uh, since Aaron never helpfully supplied the title with the link, so when I saw it was called Cobra Quake, I surmised that somewhere in the episode, Cobra devises some sort of machine that causes earthquakes. And I was right. And that's the great thing about the TV show, is that it always delivers on what it promises. And that is why this is the rare instance, and probably the first time in the history of G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, where Brad prefers an episode of the cartoon over an issue of the comic. And honestly, I thought this was a fun episode in every way. The comic, issue number 44, was not. Not that 44 wasn't fun, but it felt more like an episode of the TV show than the comic. And I kind of treat the comic and the TV show as separate entities. It's like in Ghostbusters, you never cross the streams. And this month it felt like it crossed the streams and brought some of the TV show's weirdness into the comic book, because the TV show was always about these weird, big sci-fi themed global threats and big weapons like you'd get from the Roger Moore and Sean Connery era James Bond movies, with earthquake machines and missions in space and tidal waves and bad weather. And Cobra Quake unabashedly leans into that aspect of it, this is just another case of the latest doomsday device that Cobra whips out. You see, instead of just sending Scrap Iron and Firefly in to kill everybody, they go with some big, huge, elaborate device that's doomed to fail. And that's kind of what you want to see in G.I. Joe, the animated series. You want to see mutant spores and battle android troopers. You don't necessarily want to see gritty, hard-hitting realism. And I want the wilder stuff in the cartoon. In this episode, we get that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And like I say, when I say that most people, I mean, everyone I talk to prefers the comic book, I'm talking about overall, not necessarily these particular issues and episodes. Because I agree that this episode was much better than the comic we got this month. But
well, you know what? I would say maybe not necessarily better, but it sort of leans into its strengths a little more than the comic did.
Yeah, I can see that. And we're going to go with my thoughts. So again, I'm trying this a different way this month. So my thoughts on this issue. So one of the first quotes I got here. No, but when they crash, they have rattlers on their tail. I forgot why I thought that in there for. Next thought was, I had a thought that why didn't the Joes have some sort of sensors on this if this is carrying important people? Why didn't it have sensors on to see when the rattlers are coming? And then a little bit later on, we see, it was just a diversion to slap Cobra around a little bit. I see this. Ace, he's always got his card comments, playing poker and all that. He's always got comments on that. Hooded Cobra Commander. Need I say more? Why the living hell is Bazooka training martial arts? I mean, again, I love Bazooka. He's a great character, even the dumbed down version of Bazooka. But why is he training martial arts? I mean, I've got a note here. He couldn't even disarm the bomb.
Punching is better than judo.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes. Why is he teaching martial arts? I don't know. Anyways, and there was, again, I just wrote down some brief comments. Where's the pride? I think that was a loaded comment. Another question I have here. So we got martial arts. We've got Japan. We've got Bazooka. Where in the hell Snake Eyes? Japan, martial arts. In the comic, this would definitely be a Snake Eyes oriented issue. Here we get Quick Kick and Bazooka. I don't understand, other than I don't think that the cartoon team really either got or liked Snake Eyes. And maybe it's because he didn't talk and it was harder for them to, I don't know. Let me see here. When Bazooka was dead, Quick Kick's like, he was a good man. No bomb expert, but a good man. I like this little eulogy there. And again, I was going to ask where Storm Shadow's at in this whole thing when he unmasked himself. Because again, Japan, Storm Shadow should have been around. And he showed himself, so I was fine. Ninjas high-fiving. Okay. How the hell did the riderless Silver Streak stop itself? It didn't crash. You could hear it breaking when, I forget who it was, someone jumped off the Silver Samurai. The Silver Streak, and it just skid to a stop on its own. I don't quite know how that happened. And another throwback to last episode. Lady J and Annette.
Hot.
Told you watching both this issue and this episode, I thought of you, Kevin. Bazooka, as you mentioned this, Kevin. Bazooka wanting to disarm everything.
Nope.
And I have to say, I have to agree with Bazooka at the end. Yuck, give me a burger anytime. So those are my thoughts on this episode. Like I say, yeah, it was much better than the comic book we got this month. And it was one of the I don't know if it's better episodes, but it was very much, it leaned into what it does best. So let me see. I think we covered everybody on the cartoon. Let me go ahead and go. Yes, Mr. Kevin.
I got to ask everyone in the panel this question. I forgot to mention it, and none of you guys mentioned it. Storm Shadow Ninja Clan? They all dress like Storm Shadow? When is this a thing? Has it happened before? Am I not remembering this? And where is the exclusive Ninja Storm Shadow pack toys?
I don't know where the toys are at. I guess you have to buy multiple Storm Shadows and just say each of them's a different person.
That's when you used to have to go to places like Guatemala and India to get the off-market figures that are just Storm Shadow. They'd just be painted in different colors.
Think about this. Okay, let me paint this picture for you. Okay, toys. Okay, first of all, you still haven't answered the question of have we seen this before? But think about the toy pack for a second. You got all of the ninjas, right? All looking like Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow's in the middle. Maybe he has his mask off, right? And then since they're high-fiving ones, the two on each side are high-fiving over Storm Shadow's head. I'm just saying. Have we seen this clan before?
I don't think so. So I didn't answer right away because I'm trying to think.
Was this a budget thing? They're like, let's make them all Storm Shadows. I don't know.
I think I went back to Brad's comment earlier about shortcuts. I think they just wanted to shortcut. These are ninjas. How do we do that? They're all in whites.
And they're even shown in the beginning before at the Cobra stronghold, before Storm Shadow actually is shown as Mr. Morita. I'm just throwing that out.
Yes, I think this is probably before Larry came up with Red Ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they wanted a way to shortcut ninjas. So I don't know what do ninjas look like. Storm Shadow? Okay. So
because this is in Japan, I don't know. Maybe.
Again, my question is, where is Snake Eyes? But anyway, that's another story entirely. Again, as I said, the cartoon didn't have the love for Snake Eyes that Larry did, especially later in the run. But that's another. We'll get to that down the road a ways. But so, gentlemen, does anyone else have any thoughts about the cartoon? I think I've covered everybody. We've got Kevin's extra thoughts in there. Anyone else have any thoughts? We ready to go? Let's go ahead and we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back with Postbox the Pit.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages. G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
Forgot to unloop again. I'm new at this. So I'll throw in some more commercials. And you guys ready to move?
Put those into StreamYard next time. Full thing, and it'll play, and yeah, you can hear it. It's great.
Yeah, no. So I thought I did that, and as I looked, oh crap, I didn't do that. Next time I'll be better prepared, hopefully. So then, what we're gonna do, Eric, is we're gonna move on to Postbox the Pit. It's in the notes I sent you. It's basically anyone that's either commented or shared or anything on the Facebook and Twitter and all that. We'll just go through and read them off one by one. Let me see real quick.
I got mine open. I'm ready when you are.
So let me see real quick.
Who did you want to start?
So
start?
Sorry, I'm
I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll just go on my screen left to right. So I'll go Brad, Eric, and then Kevin.
All right.
Okay.
So I follow Aaron. All right.
So yes,
I go last, and then you wrap around.
yes, yep. So let's get back into.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Okay, welcome to Postbox the Pit. These are people that either wrote in or some other way communicated with us. So we're going to start looking at Facebook first. This is just a list of people that either commented, shared, liked, or anything on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/GI Joe. Rather easy. Go ahead and join up over there, and you'll hear your name on this list. So I'm going to start out with Andy Kano.
Andy Ryan Hesselbart.
Shall I?
Right, Eric? Can you hear me, Eric?
I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you froze up or not there. So I read the next name on the list, or you want to sit back and listen?
well, I'm frozen because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But basically, we're just reading off that list I sent you guys in the thing. And so you'll read off the next name after. So you go after Brad.
Yeah.
The actual list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the show notes I sent you the link for.
Yep. Wasn't sure if those were answers, in which case I was a little surprised to see my name. Yeah, I was just
no.
okay. That's the list.
Yeah, no,
Do we want to start this over?
So I can go ahead and edit together, and so we'll just go ahead and start. I'll have Eric go ahead and start with Angel. So go ahead and start with that. You can read Angel, whatever.
Really? I get the hardest name too.
Sorry about that. Just the way it worked out. And again, don't sweat it. I have problems pronouncing these names.
We all do.
So let's do the best you can.
Angel knows. Yeah. I'm not even
Articulated-
trying that name. Sorry, dude.
Articulated Chad.
Billy Peast.
Chris Gall.
Clinton Robinson.
Darren Sutherland.
Delmore Reeves Sr.
Dennis Ruiz Jr.
Edgar Israel Acosta Arellano.
Sounds good to me.
See if I can do this one right. Eric Smith.
Giles Gifford, I guess.
Glenn Chipley Jr.
Hoover Jeremiah.
James Jimmy Scanlon.
Jesse Hecht.
Jim Hughes.
Jim Meal.
John Casaba.
Joseph Johnson.
Kevin Matthews.
Kirk Douglas.
Clean Arkness Goins.
Leonardo Chizola.
Lily Cohen.
Mark Ross.
Michael Knoka.
Michael Kramer.
Michael Ulip.
Mike Lynn.
Richard L. Cox.
Ruth Sutherland.
Ryan Bombach.
Sean Tufison.
Tony Voigintis.
Vader Cravioto.
Victor Von James.
Wiley.
And those are all people that's either shared or something on the Facebook page. There was a few comments I wanted to mention on here. Michael Kramer was talking about Cobra Commander's gun, the action figure. He said he always thought it was the weirdest looking blaster he'd ever seen. The thing is, most of the Joes and Cobra weapons were based on real world firearms. So what kind of gun was Cobra Commander supposed to be holding? Was it a handheld flamethrower? It looks like a hairdryer on steroids, which I can't really argue with. I don't know if either of you guys, I know Jared's not here for the military authenticity that we usually get, but if Cobra Commander's gun is any sort of real world equivalent, or if it's just an oversized hairdryer like it looks like. There was also I commented, I was watching the series on Hulu called Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin Lawrence, or not Lawrence, Steve Martin and Martin Short. Was Steve Martin Short. And in episode 7, I commented that was their issue 21, because that episode was entirely silent except for music and stuff. And when I saw it, the first thing I thought of was issue 21, which Pat may have liked. I don't remember now.
Hey, Buffy did a silent episode too.
There you go. So I didn't watch any Buffy, so I wasn't aware of that one. But I'm sure a lot of shows copied G.I. Joe. And,
Hot.
and I'm blaming it on G.I. Joe because I love G.I. Joe. But Clinton Robinson, when I mentioned that, was their issue 21, figured that would be good enough for people to figure it out. Clinton Robinson came in and said that, so we find out that Steve Martin and Martin Short were both in the same Ninja Clan. Always suspected something was up. And then Hoover Jeremiah, our friend with the Transformers podcast, says that when we're ready to talk about episode 8 of Only Murders in This Building, Peppy Pat will be there to talk about episode 7. And then Hoover Jeremiah commented that it was very strange that the 2 O-ring figures on Hasbro Pulse, like the Cobra Trooper and Officer set, are $45, but one figure with the Stinger is $34. So a whole Stinger is cheaper than one figure. He said he knows the 2 packs come with 10 extra weapons, but that's not adding the extra value for him. Weird. And I've already commented before. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the G.I. Joe. They had the retro figures originally. Now they've kind of moved to just 2 packs, and they're like $40 some odd for 2 figures with a whole bunch of weapons. I've commented elsewhere over on the Bravo team shows that, to me, that's a little expensive for what it is in my thoughts. I just picked up a McFarlane Superpowers Batman figure for $10, which is bigger than the G.I. Joe figures. Not as articulated, but it's bigger than the G.I. Joe figures for only $10. And that's the price range I think they should be in personally. But
just a quick comment. Those new Super 7 toys, the glow-in-the-dark version ones,
right?
Were those the ones that got too close to one of the ingredients for the mass device? Like, remember when Snake Eyes got too close and he was kind of glowing? Did I miss something? Why did they glow?
I'm assuming, yeah, they got too close to the radioactive material, and they didn't have the old Blight Hermit to wrap them in leaves or whatever it was.
That's why they did the upgrade on the Pyramid of Darkness and then the special conch that rendered all males useless. So yeah.
And then we also had a comment over there from Mark Ross, one of our Patreon supporters. He mentioned me, Pat, and Jared. He said that he's up through issue 100 of the IDW issues. I'm on 162. He slowed down as some of them weren't grabbing him for a while, but then it picked up and he got more excited. He's getting on the home stretch of 300 issues now. He'll probably catch up and have to wait on the final couple of issues. Then he'll drop the Cosmicology Unlimited and start his DC Universe Infinite subscription. For the Devil's Due run, he decided he's just going to listen to their podcasts without reading along. Maybe he'll read them later. And again, he says, thank you again for all your podcasts. Well, thank you very much for your support, Mark. It's great to hear from people. Like I say, I love when, especially people that either have started reading the books or have went back and reread the books due to either my podcast or Jared and Pat's IDW run book. So, and yeah, as I've mentioned before, that apparently issue 300 of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero run is going to be the last issue for now. Larry said, last I heard, Larry hadn't been approached about continuing the series elsewhere. So G.I. Joe again is once again coming to an end with issue 300. So that was everybody on Facebook that either commented or left messages or shared or whatever. Now we're going to go ahead over to Twitter and do the same thing. Again, these are people that on Twitter that's And again, I'm not as active on Twitter as I should be. I'm really horrible at these social media things. I'm acting like I'm 52 years old, so please forgive me. But we're going to go and read off again just a long list of people that either commented, shared, or whatever on Twitter. So I'm going to start off with 007 Vintage.
Big Red.
Coffee and Comics.
Ed Moore.
Fresh Monkey Fiction Fan.
Hot. Sorry.
G.I. Gary.
G.I. Joe Netherland.
One of my favorites, Hooded Cobra Commander.
One of my favorites, Jared Albrecht, the art sale artist.
Oh, quit kissing up. He's not here.
Oh, okay, good.
Joe on Joe podcast.
Johnny Rocker.
Just another fanboy.
Kevin Reitzel.
Never heard of him.
Mate Mylar.
Renegade Game Studios.
And that's the company that puts out the G.I. Joe role-playing game that me and Eric are playing. Great game. I'm enjoying it. And Eric's doing a great job as game master. I'm not kissing up just because he's here. No, I think Eric does a great job as a game master. It's very interesting.
Has anyone ridden the Mirage and crashed?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Right now, I think we've all.
Give me time. Give me time.
I think we've had a choice to pick up vehicles. People either picked a Jeep or I think we picked, if we wanted a motorcycle, we took your advice, Kevin, and we went for the Ram.
Nice.
But after Renegade Game Studios, we have, he made his first appearance this issue, Scrap Iron.
Strato Viper 72.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast.
Warren Sapier.
That's how I pronounce it. And then, again, so those are all the people over on Twitter. Instagram, even smaller list because I do even less over there. We have David Ace G.
Green Lantern HG.
Little extra cliche.
I think I know this guy, Spartan _Phoenix. He's such an awesome dude. Check him out on Instagram. He's like really handsome too. Just want to
What is he doing? I thought I blocked him. I'll have to check on that. And I'm going to end the Twitter with our own favorites, yard sale artist. I guess I can tell the truth since he's not here. I don't have to suck up to him. Anyways, and then and again, I don't do as much on Instagram as I should, but those are the few people that's liked the things when I posted for our shows over there. And then finally over on YouTube, we've only got two. We have John Moore.
And Greg Engelhart.
So those are the
Spartan
people,
_Phoenix. Oh, sorry.
I didn't see him like or anything over on our YouTube, so don't care about Spartan _Phoenix. Oh,
Greg Engelhart, not to be confused with Sam the Engelhart.
We don't want to make that mistake. Very
There's
good.
a deep cut.
And so the next thing I'm going to bring up, which I usually do, I've been having with the guys off the air just because I do all this later, but since I'm trying to do this as more of a final show for you wonderful people out there on YouTube that may be watching, we have what I call the Soldier of the Month. This is someone that personally has either done something to help promote the show, done something to help me out, or even have given me stuff. Like a month or two ago, it was the guy that gave me the moray up there, which you can see in the background. So this month, I am going to the more Soldier of the Month. Like I say there's no real benefits that comes with it because I'm a cheapskate and poor. But I mean, there is. If you ever visit, I do have a parking spot out front waiting for you if anyone ever decides to use it. And this month, the Soldier of the Month is he's our guest this month, Mr. Eric Smith, for paying together the role-playing game and for inviting me along and letting me record it and put it out as a actual podcast part of the show. Thank you, Eric. Like I said, you do a magnificent job.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Go, Eric.
You fit in stuff from G.I. Joe, the cartoon, the comic. Not to spoil upcoming episodes of the show that we're doing on that, but yes, he does even fit in things from Cobra. La 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 la. So, and you know what? Quit hanging your head and shaking it, Kevin. I'm enjoying it. Of course, again, as we talked about in that Bravo team, I enjoyed the movie. So, but yes, Kevin, you are our soldier of the month.
Our soldier of the month. All of us here at the G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, and at the Headcast Network Studio, we salute you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll wear the sash, I'm sure, that's in the mail with
yes,
pride.
it's in the mail right now. And my next thing I have here on my notes is a final mission briefing. Again, basically, I'm just going to mention, check out the G.I. Joe, the adventure continues every other Thursday. It's part of the G.I. Joe Real American Headcast feed. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's from Renegade Game Studios. Hard for me to say. They've put out a role-playing game for G.I. Joe, and I'm loving it. Yes, there's some problems here and there, things that we're running across that maybe things could have done better, but overall, I think it's a great game. I'm really enjoying that. What are your thoughts on that, Eric? Since we have you here, and I know you've played it.
Also, it's weird to get used to, but it's a more solid game than I gave it credit for when I first read it, and they're also doing a pretty good job about incorporating other licenses. Power Rangers and the soon-to-be out Transformers also run on the exact same game engine, so you will be able to cross over not only the Power Rangers and the Transformers, but sometime in the first quarter of next year, the rumor is My Little Pony will also be fully compatible. So look for that crossover on the role-playing game very soon.
Can't tell if he's serious or not, but I do have two questions. One is, which bazooka are you allowed to play in this one? And two, if I play Quick Kick, can I play the cartoon version over the comic version?
Well, we're doing it as a mission. So G.I. Joe's been running nonstop since 1982. So Bazooka and Quick Kick are both in their 70s, although I'm sure Quick Kick has only gotten worse with the movie quotes since then because, the Matrix has come out.
Oh, man. I would have fun with that.
But yeah, definitely check out that game. If you like the game, if you like what we're doing there, definitely check out Renegade Game Studios, where you buy the game for, I think it's $55, or you buy a PDF. I think it's for $35 if you want just the PDF version. But I'm having a lot of fun on there. But I guess that's going to do it for this month. So let's start with Brad. Brad, if anyone wants to hear more about you or find out what's going on in your life, where can they go?
If anybody wants to hear more from me, you can go to my website, bradabraham.com. I post there quite regularly compared to other writers who are mostly just dicking around on Twitter. I am writing a movie series right now, sort of looking back at various films, a series called Celluloid Heroes, which takes its name from a Kinks song, and the Kinks are one of my favorite bands, if you've been following my website. And this month's installment just went live. It's about a little movie from 1991 you may have heard of called Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Never heard of it.
Nah, it's obscure.
And Mr. Reitzel.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. And you can also find our Fandom Podcast Network on all social medias, basically, Twitter, Instagram, and of course our Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like, appreciate that. And our master feed is at fpnet.podbean.com, and I host a few of the shows on there. We've got like a total of 13 shows currently on there, hosted by several great people. I do a Highlander podcast called Blooded Kings. If you're a Highlander fan, make sure you check that out. We also just did a Couch Potato Theater where we celebrate our favorite movies, and we just did Megaforce because it's celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Deeds, not words.
That's right, buddy. Yeah. And so that's out right now. And we're also celebrating some other movies. I'd never seen this until recently, but my wife and a couple of our friends in the network insisted on doing Grease 2. So that's coming out soon as well for Couch Potato Theater. And we also do Time Warp, where we cover an entire year of films in several different segments. And we take you back and to let you know other pop culture is happening while those release of those films. And we are doing 1982 because it's all celebrating its 40th anniversary. We also have a Star Trek and Orville podcast called Union Federation. Orville's killing it right now for season 3. That's a good thing. Make sure you check out Orville. And we also have Star Wars podcast and Doctor Who, a bunch of other great podcasts on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Very nice. And I don't know if you have anything you want to promote or anything, Eric. You do anything that you want people to see? If not, that's fine. I understand.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing in the public other than the G.I. Joe Rogue, which you should like. So I'm looking forward to becoming internet famous.
Well, I am too. So as far as myself, I do have the Headcast Network where all my shows are there. G.I. Joe has now become a weekly show. 1 week we do G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, which you may be listening to right now. The fourth Thursday of the month, I do Bravo Team, where I talk about what do I feel like. I've got my usual co-host on there, Articulated Chad. The past episode, by the time this comes out, it was just me talking briefly about the San Diego Comic-Con Hasbro Pulse G.I. Joe release information. Again, I said it earlier in the show, I'll say it again. Trouble bubbles are coming. We just have to wait 10 years. Their release schedule. But anyways, I've also got my other shows. I've got Head Speaks. Again, I'm going to switch for me just because Kevin Schilling's Trouble Bubble with the Baroness. Hot. I've got my Head Speaks where I talk about anything comic book or geeky. Right now I'm covering the Power of the Atom series. We have the Task Force X podcast where I talk about Suicide Squad and Checkmate from the late 80s, early 90s. We have the Starman Adventure Show, which I've kind of named it as at this point, looking at the Will Payton Starman, again, from the late 80s, early 90s. I've got kind of a theme going there. And then the wife and I have 2 shows we're doing. We have the Starbright Project, where we're looking at the Quantum Leap TV show from the 90s, started in late 89 and through the 90s, early 90s. In fact, Quantum Leap has a new season, however you want to phrase it. A lot of people call it a reboot, but it's not really a reboot. From what we're understanding, it's a continuation. Much like Eric's doing on the role-playing game, it's 30 years after Quantum Leap. We last saw Sam Beckett, and there's a new team looking into the mysteries of what happened with Sam and time travel. And that comes out on NBC September the 19th, right after The View. And right now, me and the wife and our friend from Australia, Hayden McQueenie, we're doing some special episodes, looking at some episodes that we think may be tying in or have some sort of reference or something to the new series. We've looked at The Leap Home. We've looked at MIA and several other episodes that revolve around either Sam, Al, or the project in general. So definitely check out those. And I think the last show I have to mention is Voyager's Cast. Again, no, this is not Star Trek Voyagers. This is Voyagers from 1982 through 1983. It was one season, another time travel show about a guy traveling through time, much like Quantum Leap, kind of righting wrongs. And he actually picks up a young boy, a 12-year-old, that ends up helping him out on the journey. So great shows. And I'm going to say they're great podcasts because I'm involved with them, but that's just me. But anyways, definitely join us back here next month when we look at issue 45. I haven't looked and read it yet, but I'd be willing to put a couple bucks out of my wallet down on it that this is going to be a better issue than what we got this month. But don't quote me on that. But that's
we
my.
can go back and talk about 43 again if you want.
We might talk about issue 43. I don't know yet. It depends on what happens next month. When I read issue 45, if it comes out like issue 44, yeah, we might just talk about 43 again. Brad missed out on that, so he could throw us this, let us know what he thought about it. And We see what Kevin thought of the cover, because I don't think he mentioned the cover at all last month.
That was a huge oversight, by the way. I expected Kevin to talk a little bit about the cover when I was listening after the fact.
Yeah, if you got time right now, I could, talk about it.
Do you have a copy of the cover handy? Again, for those that's listening to this on the podcast and is not watching on the YouTube feed, Kevin always does from his little studio, and over his right-hand shoulder, he's got a larger copy of the cover of issue 43. So
you do ask, is this cover worth making into a poster and hanging up? Yes, it is. 43.
So that's why we keep talking about that. If you're listening on the podcast, that's why we keep mentioning that, because Kevin's got a larger than life size copy of the cover. So plus, as he showed us last time, he's got signed copies of it and all this good stuff. But I think I've babbled on long enough. Until next month, remember, knowing is half the battle. And if I can get each of you guys give me Yo-Joe in order. So Brad.
Yo-Joe.
Yo-Joe.
And Eric.
Yo-Joe.
Yo-Joe. And then at that point, we sign out. Music in here or not? Oh, I'm in the wrong section. And again, I'm learning all this, and hopefully I get better at getting this stuff in. Yeah, I don't have the ending on here, so I'll throw in there. Anyways, thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining me this episode. I enjoy talking to you guys. It was a pleasure talking with you on this. I mean, we talk every other week when we role play, but it's a pleasure talking to somebody besides the role playing game. It's in the broadcast. I said.